Good morning. How are you? Let's see. Can you hear me? Check your volume. Let's see. You're not on mute on my end. Let's see. All right. Is your volume turned up? Hi there. How are you?
Good. How you doing?
Good. We just lost Tanya, so we'll see if she can get back in. She was having a little trouble with her volume, and she was trying to figure that out. And then I lost her. Here she comes back again.
Before we get started, I actually have to be off today at 8:30. I have a let's call I have to be on.
You got it. All right, we got Tanya back. Can you hear us now? Perfect. Okay, great. How is it going with the exercises that we introduced yesterday? Any questions on that?
No. I mean, I think he's doing real good with the kind of the like the distracting and then calling by name, right? And then kind of responding to that. Right. Doing well with kind of the walking step thing. So
excellent. Yeah. So keep that up, and we'll check in on that again on Friday is our next session. So we'll check in on that again, and we'll do a little review, and we'll see how that's going. We should be able to add some additional steps to that to be more like a natural walk instead of kind of walking and pausing. Good. Excellent. So today we're going to talk about home alone time training. This is really important for dogs. We need them to learn that it's okay not to be with us. That being alone is all right, whether we're leaving the house or we just go upstairs to brush our teeth. We want to make sure that our dogs feel comfortable being alone and that they don't develop any separation-related behaviors. So it's a little bit more challenging these days than usual. I mean, once upon a time, sometimes mom would be home while dad worked, and then we have like a lot of families who are two-person households working. So, dogs got used to being alone kind of easily. Then we've got the whole pandemic that set in, and now everybody's home. Some schools are, only going half day. Some schools are still virtual. So he's found something back there he's excited about. So a lot of times our puppies now are not having the opportunity to be alone because they're not even getting that time where, we'd have them and then we'd go run to ShopRite and be gone maybe like an hour. That was all very helpful when we had puppies, and most people didn't think about it because, well, we're just doing our natural routines. So we really want to start making sure that Elliot is getting some alone time. Now, I know, Tanya, you're working, and Dan, you're home. And so how much time does he kind of get to spend by himself, if at any? None. Okay. Yeah, that's what I suspected. That's kind of been the theme since March, and even as of late with things, opening up a little bit. So what we want to do is we want to start implementing some alone time for him. And this could be very small bits of time. Since he's not really had any alone time, this might be a little challenging for him. We don't want to leave him alone to the point where he's distressed and crying and getting himself worked up in a tizzy. A little bit of whining is okay because, well, we've bred dogs, we've bred wolves to become, dogs so we can have these great companions. So it's natural for dogs to want to be with us. We've bred them for that social ability. But a little bit of whining is okay, and that's going to occur. So if we give him some alone time and you get some, you can kind of tell between the I'm a little bit like disgruntled that I can't come sit by you, and I'm completely distressed. you'll know, because he's not going to do a little bit of whining and then go about his business and then come back and do a little bit of whining and then maybe go chew a chewy and lay down and then maybe get up and try again, like, can I come out now? It's going to be a lot of whining, possibly some crying, howling, barking. You're going to find that he's pacing. He may be so stressed out that he may defecate or urinate. We don't want that to happen. So we want to monitor him as we're giving him some alone time. Start small with him. Don't just put him in a space and then disappear for an hour. Start small. So if you've been working on some of those training without trying exercises, I've had it set up where you'd feed him in his special place and then let him be and go do stuff. So he doesn't have to be right next to you while he's eating. He's not on top of your feet. He's not on top of you. He can still see you walking around while you're doing stuff, or he might hear you in another part of the house when you're doing laundry or whatnot. Have you been able to work on any of those exercises? Okay, I don't have volume on you. Let's see. There.
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. I couldn't hear Tanya when she was just mentioning something. I know I don't have volume on her. She's not on mute. Let's see. Okay. Yeah. She looks okay on my end. I'm not seeing her on mute accidentally. Okay. So we want to start leaving him for little bits of time. And with him, since he really hasn't had any alone time, let's work on about 5-minute increments for him. If you can eke out a little bit more because you give him a food dispensing toy and he's gated off or in a pen and he seems okay while he's eating, that's fine. Don't have to come back in about 5 minutes. But for him, let's start him off on some 5-minute increments. Maybe he gets put in his special safe place. And of course, he's not completely comfortable in that wire crate. He seems to be doing okay in the soft-sided crate. But let's make sure that he's completely comfortable and he's not distressed when we're leaving him alone. So maybe it's you give him some special chewy and then you go do some laundry. So he's where he is, you're still home, but we could still work on some alone time training. Maybe you give him his breakfast and then you go take a shower. So everybody is not right here. He's getting some alone time even though everybody's home, because they tend to want to lay by our feet. You know, I've already noticed when we're doing training, as soon as Dan sits down, he wants to come lay next to him, which is completely natural. But we want to make sure that he's able to soothe himself, that he's okay by himself, and he's not in distress when somebody's with him. So you can do lots of little things throughout the day. You can, and a lot of people, because they're home, they're actually leashing their dog up and taking them to the mailbox, no matter how short or long the driveway is. You can leave him home when you do that. So you can put him in his special place, go to the mailbox, linger outside another 5 minutes and do something, pick up some sticks off the yard, grab, take the garbage down to the end of the driveway, whatever it is. Find these small opportunities during the day where he can be alone. It might be as simple as we'll give him some alone time training, and then you go to your office and you pay some bills or you answer some emails. We put him in his special space or gated off in a laundry room, and then we go in our sitting area or our living room and we read a little bit of a book, or we go somewhere we pay some bills. We just want to start giving him some alone time so he's not right with us all the time. It's helpful if you need any help with this to record him. So that way, if you're trying to determine whether he's really upset and distressed or if it's normal, I'm happy to review that footage. Keeping in mind that when we work on this alone time training when we're home, sometimes our dogs might appear to be a little bit more upset than if we leave because they know we're home. And even if we go upstairs and we're quiet and we read a book, the more people you have in the household and the more people that get up and walk around, he's going to hear those footprints up or those footsteps upstairs. And that might cause him to do a little bit more whining that he might not do when you're home, when you're not home. So sometime this week, see if you can go out and run an errand somewhere, even if it's small, or you get in the car and you just go down the street. Put the camera up and record him and let him and see what he's doing. Is he watching for you guys to come back, which is normal? And then he goes and he lays down, or he goes about his business and chews a toy or a bone. Does he get up again and then look for you? That's normal. He's going to be like, are you coming back? Did you go to the bathroom? Okay, you're not coming back yet. Or is he really, really in distress? I've seen normal dog behavior. And then I've seen dogs that are in such distress. As soon as the people leave, they close the door. The dogs are working themselves up into such a tizzy. And then just a couple of minutes later, they defecate on the floor. These dogs are in severe distress. We want to start acclimating him to these little bits of alone time. It's pretty easy to record him. You can actually set up a Zoom session for yourself, point your laptop to him or your phone to him, and just record. So you can get 5, 10, 15 minutes of footage and take a look at it. Sometimes when we first leave, those first few minutes are a little bit stressful for the dog because they're like, wait, can I come? Where are you? Are we together? And it's normal for them to walk to the gate if they're gated off in a room, or it's normal for them to whine a little bit. We want to see what they do. Do they settle in? Do they start to settle in and then get up and look for us? Or are they really just in distress and then they're crying and whining more to the point where there's no chance they're going to settle down because it's just escalating and escalating and escalating. And we don't want to let them cry it out. We don't want to say, okay, well, I'm just going to go to the store for 2 hours and I'm going to let the puppy cry it out, because that's not healthy for them either. What they're learning is being alone is scary, being confined is scary, being crated is scary. So that can actually do more damage than good, where we do end up with a dog who ends up being afraid to be by themselves. Whereas if we work on it in little increments, we can help him. So with everybody home, I'd start with 5-minute increments, see how he does. If he does great with 5 minutes, amp him up to like 10 minutes, see how he does. Just start doing that progression a little bit slower. We don't want to wait to see how he does when the world goes back to normal, whenever that is and whatever that might be. I'm really nervous for dogs who haven't had alone time. People are going to start going back to work more, with kids going back to school a little bit more, and then running their regular errands. And people are going to find that these puppies that they got in March are really in distress. And then we've got a really big problem, because now their normal routines are, well, whatever their normal routines are now. And it's going to be hard to work on that because they have to maybe go into the office a few days a week. So we want to start working on this now to help him out. There are some things we can do to help him if you're finding that he's a little bit distressed. I'm not going to give you any exercises to do besides start working on his alone time training, because you don't need any extra homework to do right now. So if you're finding he's a little distressed, I can give you some exercises to help him out that will make going to the door or going through the case opening boring and not a point of contention for him. So let me know how that's going. Any questions on anything that we're covering so far with regards to that?
Can you hear me now?
Oh, I can hear you now. Yay.
Okay, I figured it out. So we had 2 incidents that were interesting to me. One, Dan was working, so he was upstairs taking a call, and we had a mattress delivered. And so Harrison and I went upstairs to help the men figure out kind of where Elliot went ballistic, to the point where he broke through the safety gate and knocked it down, barked. But I don't know if that was more because we weren't there or because there were strange men in the house. So then we actually did try to all of us leave the room at a different time and go in the other room, and we were able to, he did whine a little bit, but then he kind of settled down. And what, Dan, we did it for what, 3 or 4 minutes, would you say?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
That's about right.
And he was okay. So we've had 2 incidents now. Again, it might have been because there were strange men in the house and that's why he went ballistic, but we did try to leave him for like 3 or 4 minutes, and he did whine and he did sit by the gate, but and then he kind of stopped, walked away, came back, but it wasn't horrific.
Okay, yeah, so that sounds normal. And it's sometimes a little bit challenging, because I tell people if the dog hasn't been left alone to try 5 minutes, and the challenge is, for those first 5 minutes, a dog may try to see if you're coming back, because it's not a long period of time. So it's a little bit challenging. When we used to leave Toast in the beginning, we'd put the camera in and I'd watch her. And she would always go, depending on what space she was in. If she was in her pen area with the crate, the puppy townhouse, she would go to like the gate and be like, she'd look, are you coming back? And let out some, like, I'm here, don't forget about me. And if she was in one of the rooms that we designated as a safe space for her with the gate up, she'd walk over to the gate, she'd whine, she'd go back to kind of whatever we gave her Kong or her Chewy. And then she'd bring that over to the gate and she'd let out a few whines with her in her mouth, but she'd go and she'd lay back down. That's all normal. So she might not settle in for about 10 minutes, but she was okay during those 10 minutes. So with regards to the people coming in, it could have been, you know, great excitement that there were strangers there, and he, you know, had FOMO, fear of missing out, or, you know, he wasn't sure about these people. So when you've been taking him out and he encounters people, how does he do?
It's been doing really, really well with the socialization. We're actually really excited. We've had him see all different types of people, little kids, big men, women, joggers, no barking, some curiosity, wanting to go over and say hello.
Right.
Other dogs seem so far so good. Took him to Well Bred. He did not want to go in, but eventually he felt comfortable and went in. Once he was in there, he like loved every minute of it. And now when we go to take him in the car, we used to have to kind of coax him in with treats. He jumps right in. He's like, let's go.
Excellent. So with regards to getting in the car, and he's really excited about that now, reward that for a little while. Since he was hesitant to get in, even though he's getting in happily now, reward that, because he's a puppy. And as he gets older and he starts to become an adolescent, we don't want him to go, ooh, I'm not too sure about this now. Let's make that a really good experience. Since he wasn't sure about it, he's learning that getting in the car makes good stuff happen. I go to fun places, but we want to make that act of getting in the car stick and be great. There's nothing worse than having to pick up a really heavy dog and put them in the car if you need to get them somewhere. Cooper's 80 pounds. Now he's blind.
Yeah.
He used to get in the car okay. Now he's having a little trouble because he went to get in one day and he kind of sort of missed. And so now he learns by association, getting in the car bonks my head. Even though he's had 10 and a half years of fantastic car rides, now he gets to the car and he kind of turns and looks in my direction. He's kind of like, this is the portal that I'm not sure how to get in right now because I kind of misjudged last time. So I've got to help him in. And so it's a little different because he's older, but reward him when he gets in, making sure that getting in the car is great. So hearing how he's greeting all these other people out in public doesn't sound as if he's showing us any fear with regards to strangers. So I don't know that it was, maybe it was excitement, not that it was any kind of behavior to be concerned about these men. Maybe it was the weird mattress coming in that made him a little bit unsure, because let's face it, how many people have you had come in your house and deliver mattresses? That's probably his first mattress that he's seen. So that could have been something that startled him. It could have been just sheer excitement that there's something going on and he's missing. So just take note of that. Have you had anybody else come over to the house? Or, because obviously people are just having a lot of people come over. Has anybody else come over to see his reaction?
Yeah, my parents have been over.
Yeah, but we had my brother-in-law came, and he did not like my brother-in-law. He growled, he barked, he would not settle down. That was like maybe 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
Since then, we've had neighborhood children come over. He was totally fine. My father-in-law, my mother-in-law, he was like one little bark, but then kind of comes up and is totally fine. But my brother-in-law, I don't know what it was, but did not like him.
All right. So your brother-in-law, is he taller than the average man? Is he have
Shorter.
facial hair? Anything that could be different than anybody's seen so far? Okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, and these kinds of things are really interesting because we don't know what it is. And I will tell you, maybe 5 years ago, I had a client whose dog did not like other dogs and was pretty weary of men. So we were working on that. And I got a very distressed call from her one day, and she said, I was out and he lunged and growled at a jogger that went by. And it was a female, and we've never seen him react to any female ever. So I said, okay, we're not going to write it off because it happened, so we need to take note of it. But there's something that happened that day. Maybe the jogger came around the corner and surprised him. Was she wearing a hat? I mean, he's seen people in hats. Never happened again until maybe a month later. There was somebody else, like a worker or something. It was, ready? That green kind of neon thing that some workers would wear or a jogger might wear. They have those like fluorescent kind of orange and green and yellow and fun shorts that joggers wear. It was the green. We never seen him do it before that, and we never seen him do it again. It was only those 2 times with those greens. So sometimes it's just and the only reason we figured it out was because she was being really diligent about if her dog, because he's a really big dog, so she's being really diligent about anything that he might react to in the environment because he was huge. And we had nothing to compare it to. He's seen women in ponytails, he's seen women in hats, he's seen all these kinds of women. So why that day? He's seen joggers as far as she could remember, and then that construction worker. And so she remembered bright green shorts on the jogger, bright green shirt on the construction worker. So there's something about the brother-in-law that he's not sure about. He can't tell us what it is. We can help him through that. I am actually going to send you a game, because I know we don't have too much time left. I'm going to send you a game called Treat and Retreat. This is my go-to favorite game for any dog who's weary of strangers. You'll have Elliot not greet him at the door, because we don't want him to practice that running up and barking at somebody and growling at somebody. And a lot of people will say, oh, it's okay. And then they lean over to pet the dog, and that's when a bite happens. We don't want that to happen. We want to set Elliot up for success, and we want to set our guests up for success. So have Elliot somewhere else. Let the brother-in-law come in. Let him sit in a chair. You're going to give him two kinds of treats. You're going to give him low value treats, so either some kibble or some prepackaged treats, and you're going to give him some high value treats. You're going to see where Elliot lands. So a dog who's unsure of people might only come into the doorway, because coming in the whole room is too scary, because that's where the unsettling person is. He might come about 4 feet away from your brother-in-law, because that's as close as he's getting. We're not looking to coax him closer. What we're going to do is your brother-in-law will take a low value treat. He'll toss it just behind Elliot, so he has to turn around and get it. While he's turning around to get it, he's going to be ready with a high value treat. So when Elliot turns around, he's going to toss it right where Elliot feels comfortable standing. So he's going to move away slightly to get that low value treat. But when he turns around, we want to make sure that high value treat ends up right where he was standing. Because a dog who's unsure, they might walk away, but then they always come back to that same spot. What this game does is it teaches him that he gets to move away from the scary thing. He doesn't get great stuff for doing it, but he still gets stuff, as we play the game. The good stuff only comes when he's closer to the scary person. Now, with this game, we don't want to say it's okay and start dropping them close to us to get the dog to come forward. That's not the game. The game is the dog comes forward on his own. So it might take 2 minutes. It might take 2 weeks to play the game where Elliot feels comfortable coming, say, 4 feet within the proximity. And then you might find that you toss the treat and he comes a little closer than the previous spot that he was. Now you play treat and retreat there. He eventually feels comfortable. He gets that low value goodie. He turns around. He doesn't go to the spot he normally goes. He comes a little closer. It's all about choice. He comes as close to the scary thing, the person, as he feels comfortable within his own time. This is building up trust with the potentially scary person and Elliot. Now, when Elliot finally comes close and he's right here and he's like, oh, I thank you for all my hot dogs, we don't want to reach down and go, hey, good job, buddy, and pet him. That could set him back, because he's been working in these very small increments to build up the courage and the trust to come close. If we all of a sudden reach down and pet him, he's going to go, see, that's exactly why I didn't come near this person to begin with. And we can ruin that and set that back. We kind of have to start over. So it's really, really tempting when the dog comes closer, because you want to say, oh, you're so brave, you did it, and then give them some affection. But encourage whoever you're playing this game with not to do that. Just drop some treats on the floor. If he has to just toss them off to the side, that's fine. I'd even hold off handing him the treats right now. I would still just drop them, because we want to make being close to the person safe. Then eventually, after a little bit, let him hand him a treat. And I would suggest maybe open palm instead of this way, open palm, like here you go, that's less scary. I play this game with many, many dogs. I worked with a little dog, a little pug mix quite a few years ago, terrified. Literally could not even walk past me to go outside. So if I held the door open for her to go outside, she couldn't do it. Terrifying. Have to prop the door open and go in another room. Then she could go outside, and she stayed about 40 feet away. We played treat and retreat for weeks, and I would do it 3 times a week to help this person out. And she eventually came up to me, and I didn't hand her a single treat. I just kept dropping them. The day she kind of jumped up and put her front paws on me, now we don't want to encourage jumping, but that's a huge milestone for a puppy or a dog who's afraid. So I actually rewarded her. We wouldn't want to reward bad behavior typically, but this was a huge milestone for her. I actually did open my palm and let her eat out of it. I slowly reached and got more treats to not scare her and let her eat out of my palm. I didn't want to encourage the jumping up, but this was huge for her. Then we started feeding out of my hand. So it took for her about 3 weeks, going over 3 times a day to practice with her, because she had a big fear of people, to get her used to me. And then after that, she greeted me at the door every single time and had that breakthrough. So practice this game. I'll send you those instructions. It's really, really easy. And if your brother-in-law has to get up at any point during the visit, coax Elliot away, so that way the brother-in-law doesn't stand up while he's trying to build this trust with Elliot, because when he's sitting down, he's not a threat. Once he stands up, he's bigger and taller. That's scarier. Once he starts moving around to go use the bathroom, that's more scary for a dog who's unsure of a person, because now they're unpredictable and they don't know where they're going to go. So help Elliot out and just bring him into the next room, and then your brother-in-law can go use the bathroom or leave or whatever he's going to do. So any questions on that, I'll send you that. And if you have any questions, let me know. That's my easy go-to game to help with some potential stranger danger. And if he's doing well with other people, it might not take him that long to get acclimated to the brother-in-law. It might have just been something that startled him that day when he came in, and it might not have had anything to do with him. Several years ago, I was at a client's house, and if I wasn't there, they wouldn't have been able to describe it to me, because it would have happened out of the blue. This dog and this man had a great relationship, and me, her, and him were in the kitchen. He moved, and his sneaker squeaked on the linoleum. You know how it makes that little sound? That the dog got terrified, tore out of the kitchen, through the dining room, up the steps, down the hallway, and under a bed, and wouldn't come out. He's terrified. Now, because dogs learn by association, that dog could have been weary of feet. The dog could have been weary of the kitchen. The dog could be weary of that time of day because something scary happens as it's getting dark. He was afraid of that man who he had a great relationship with, because as far as he knew, that man made something scary happen. We were able to work through that super, super quick because they had this great history and relationship. But for the rest of that day and that evening, the dog stayed away from him. He eventually came down the steps, but he stayed far away. And we just played treat and retreat that evening. I told him, just play treat and retreat. Don't try to coax him up in your lap like he normally does. Let him come in his own time. By the next day, the dog was back to normal. But for the rest of that day and evening, the dog stayed away because he was terrified in that moment of that very surprising sound that happened. Yeah, so any questions on that? Take note of those things if you can, if you're out and about. So far, he sounds like he's doing great with the encounters he's having. But if you encounter somebody and he's barking or he does some sort of growl, he's telling us he's uncomfortable. See if there's anything you can identify. And it could be really hard. It could be neon green shorts that we would have never figured out unless we had a neon green shirt that occurred about a month later. That would have been a mystery to us. And we would have wondered, okay, what happened that day? We would have chalked it up to the jogger probably came around the corner and scared the dog, because the dog never has any issues with women or any other thing. So why that day did he act that way? So that was a mystery we might not have ever pieced together. We just might not have ever done that. So any questions on the alone time training? I'm going to send you some suggestions on ways to do this. It is helpful if you record when you leave so you can see, does he act the same when you're home versus when you leave? Because again, when you're home, they know they're there. And so dogs may let out some whines where they might not do it when you leave. And it sounds like you've done already a little bit of sampling of this. So if he's doing well at say 3 to 4 minutes, do some sessions this week of 5 minutes and then start increasing the time with him. If anybody has to go out and do an errand, or even if everybody wants to get in the car and just go through the McDonald's drive-through and come back, or go pick up pizza together and come back, record him, see how he does in that 20, 30, 40 minutes or whatever it is. And I'm happy to review any video to see if there's any challenges and things that we need to work on, if we need to add some more exercises. Okay.
Great.
Excellent. Yep. And every time you put him in his space when you leave, I know we were talking about this with crate training, but just a reminder, every time you leave him alone, give him something great. Now, if you're only going to practice a 5-minute absence in your own home, he doesn't need a Kong that's going to take him 40 minutes. give him something else, but just make sure he loves it. So Toast likes Himalayan yak chews, but I wouldn't use, but for her, I wouldn't use a Himalayan yak chew when I left in the beginning because she liked them, but she didn't love them to the point where she was like, ooh, peanut butter and a Kong. Now she loves chewing on those, but I knew that wasn't going to hold her attention enough because there wasn't a lot of instant satisfaction with that for her. She would chew them while we were gone, but while I was practicing some alone time training, I wanted to make sure she had things that she could really sink her teeth into that was going to satisfy her. So sometimes I'd leave her with a Kong and a no hide because I know she loved the no hides, but she was also going to get a lot of satisfaction out of this. And I'd watch, okay, she's going for the cream cheese filled Kong or the cheese filled Kong or the peanut butter filled Kong. And I didn't care if she had 2 of them if I was gone for 2 hours, because she might take a nap and then have this later, because I was associating being alone with being great. And so I gave her a couple of options. So she could have option A or option B, and it was helping me decide what was her favorites. Because she might chew that yak bone while I'm here, but when I'm gone, that might not be exciting enough for her. So just make sure you give a yummy that's appropriate for when you leave, that he's going to be like, oh, I don't even care that you're gone because I got myself a knuckle bone or something like that. So always give him something that's great when you leave to show him that those absences are good. Like when you leave, good stuff happens. I love it. So, all right, guys, excellent. I'll get this all over to you.
Okay.
All right.
Great.
And any questions, let me know.
Thanks very
Thank
much.
you, Kelly.
Okay.
You're welcome. Have a great day, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.